Hello, Lawrence.
Hello, Anna. How's it going?
It is going good. How are you?
Fine. Doing okay.
Fine. Yeah, both of us had an interesting week, but
I've had a very, very interesting week.
yeah,
Yeah.
but all around we're good, and that is good,
Yeah,
and this is which keeps the spirit alive and everything else.
indeed.
So yeah, I would say let's dive right into this very interesting chess week, of course, too,
Hmm.
because yeah, candidates tournament. I mean, obviously we will take the majority of our news review about the candidates. We might even take a look at a game or two and talk
Yeah.
about our predictions. And
Hmm.
but there's one or two more articles which are quite interesting, and we will
Yes.
take a look at them right now. And there we have it already.
Yeah.
Mist,
First
Mr.
article.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
he's
Arnie.
he's good in chess, you know. He's playing against Mike Tyson. Yeah, he'll beat the crap out of him. Oh no, it's not something. Oh, so
That's okay.
okay, so here we go. Yeah, there he is. What's your take on both of those heavyweight
Well,
masters, kind
I
of?
mean, obviously I'm an Arnold Schwarzenegger fan just from, some of the classic movies he's done. The fact that he posts a lot of chess stuff as well, you'll see in this article as well. He's been in chess and loving chess for many years. There's a picture of him against Kasparov. There's a picture of him playing some young kid. And then there's a picture of him playing a donkey, which was last year, which I use this picture quite a lot when I want to send it to some of my friends, asking them why they're playing Arnold Schwarzenegger. When did they get the invite to his house? So it's great to see that. But obviously, the real thing about this article, people who know, who follow me, maybe a lot of people don't know this, but I'm a big boxing fan. So actually, even tonight, I've got boxing training, and Mike Tyson is obviously arguably the great one of the greatest. At least he's in the picture of top three or heavyweights of all time. Incredible scholar of boxing, actually, Mike Tyson. You wouldn't think it. A lot of people just think he's a thug and just a violent type. And when in his early days, he had a lot of anger and a lot of hatred. He's completely reformed now. He's much more chilled out. He understands the mistakes he made, and um, but as a fighter, his actual knowledge of boxing, he's a pure scholar. He watched all the greats. He knows about the greats. He understands technique, everything. And so to see these guys play chess is really great. And by the way, the position on the board that Mike got was completely acceptable position as well. I don't know if that was already pre-created, or if you look at that position there, this is just like yeah, it's a wacky French that actually it looks like a French defense that I've played with three knights c6. So maybe Mike knows what he's doing. I don't know, but
Yeah, I
it's
wonder.
it's just great to see two A-list celebrities promoting chess, playing chess. It gets more eyes on chess, and chess continues to be in the public eye, and that's the important thing. And I'm looking forward to when the Kardashians start to play chess. That's the next. That's the next step, or maybe that's
well,
the top.
well, I actually made an. Oh no, that's what wasn't Kardashian. Sorry, I made an article last year about what was the movie? It was with Beyonce and Jay Z, her husband, and they recreated the Lion King and have a sequence in this musical-ish, stylish thingy where they're playing chess. Yeah, that was
That's it.
it.
Yeah.
It sometimes, yeah, sometimes celebrities jump on the chess train a little bit more often. I was just laughing out loud because you said it so casually. Here, Arnold is playing against Garry Kasparov, here against the child, and here against the donkey. It's like
Yeah.
it's going,
Yeah.
it's
They
going down a
progression
little.
downwards, right? The donkey actually plays quite decent openings, though. He plays this weird Caracal
Yeah,
with p5.
you might
I've
wonder
seen,
if it's also recreated, just like with Mike Tyson. Who
yeah,
knows?
I've seen Magnus play worse than this donkey. So.
Yeah.
Strange world we live in.
What I like
But
about
great.
those two guys is, as a vegan myself since 7 years, I'm very happy with this kind of let's say philosophy. Arnold Schwarzenegger, he is not vegan, but he's promoting veganism and for the environment, which is nice. And as far as I know, Mike Tyson is actually vegan since a couple of years, and
Yeah, I think so.
he's also part of all of this is that he's promoting. I think he recently came back, right? He had a
He did.
comeback.
He had a fight against Roy Jones Jr. a few
Yeah.
months ago. It was an exhibition fight, but still went for it. I mean, he's in his 50s now, Mike, but my goodness, he's still incredibly tough guy. Roy Jones Jr., by the way, is another pure scholar of the game, incredible fighter. So, yeah, just nice to see. And that's Arnold Schwarzenegger's home, by the way. If we go down,
Exactly. Yes. Yeah.
that's his home, Brentwood Country Estates, in somewhere in California, I guess it is.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, sorry. Yeah, in Los Angeles. Yeah.
How did he get this car inside there?
There we go. That's true. There's
Maybe this is Mike. It's like, I'm coming in. I cannot recreate his voice, unfortunately. I know how it's going though. But I also knew, by the way, how Mike Tyson was talking from the movie Hangover. This is the first time I actually really heard him talk, and I thought like, oh wow, interesting. Yeah, a nice thing. Promotes chess. It's a good thing. It's fun, and I think fun is something which is always very important. Humor in every kind of part in the life. If you can take a lot of things with humor, you're in a brighter place, probably. Obviously,
I agree.
So then we have, of course, Mr. Gawain Jones, and he wins the
this article.
Memorial.
Yeah, this article was really nice because it's about Gawain winning a tournament in New Zealand. So Gawain's wife is from New Zealand. They've had a child, so Gawain is a dad, and apparently they probably went to New Zealand once they were allowed to, probably to see the grandparents or something like that. So, but there was a tournament there, which was the Bob Wade Memorial. Now, a lot of people won't know the name Bob Wade.
I neither. Can you tell us anything about it?
So Bob was somebody who was very dear to me. When I first started chess, Bob was one of the first people I met as a sort of coach instructor. He used to give lectures at the Barbican Center. He used to help a lot of English juniors. He was from New Zealand, but spent most of his life in the UK. And he was an international master. He won the British Championships, and he did actually represent England in the Olympiad. I think he played Tal once in an Olympiad. I can't quite remember, but he played some big boys over the years. He was an author of books, but this really isn't the point. I mean, he was such a kind, nice guy. I met him when he was already reasonably old. I mean, he died in 2008, and I probably met him probably like in the early 2000s, something like that. So he was already 80. Basically, when I met him, right? Because he lived 1921 until 2008. So he lived, what's that, 87. Yeah. So I already met him when he was in his 80s or late 70s. So he was already an old guy, but he was just a super nice dude. And helped English chess and English junior chess a lot. There's a picture of him from many years before, of course. And okay, so he had a memorial tournament, and apparently it was his 100th memorial. 100, where his anniversary, he would have been 100.
Of course, yeah.
He was born in 2021.
Yeah. Blue Kiwi.
Exactly. Yeah. So he always considers himself kind of a New Zealander through and through. That's what Kiwis are called, the New Zealanders. And they organized a tournament in his honor, and none other than Grandmaster Gawain Jones competed, and he drew with Michael Stedman, who's a FIDE master, who I've also played from New Zealand. I think I beat him years and years ago. But well done to Gawain, obviously huge favorite to win this tournament, one with 5.5. And there's a photo of him with another New Zealand slash English grandmaster, Murray Chandler. So
Oh.
Murray is also kind of uh, in that same category, links to New Zealand and to the UK. And Gawain wins the tournament. But I mean, it's not really a big news that Gawain won a tournament of this nature. The big news, of course, is, or rather, the nice news is remembering Bob,
Yeah.
and he would have been 100 this month.
Mm.
But his legacy lives on. His inspiration for British juniors. Gawain for sure would have had some help with Bob in his early years as well, and he came up with some really interesting opening stuff as well. Like there are some Wade systems, openings like D4, Knight F3, D6, D4, Bishop G4. I think that might even be called the Wade system. But yeah, nice to remember Bob, and I've got very, very fond memories of him. So we should be celebrating his contribution to chess.
Nice one.
Yeah.
Nice insight from your side. Yeah, I haven't heard of Bob Wade before. Probably Wade is of course a name which is pretty common. Bob maybe too. So I think I heard the name, but I couldn't put it together with chess. Let's say like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and Gawain Jones, of course.
And by the way, Gawain, we should say, is a nice segue here. Gawain is going to be playing the next edition of the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour, which is the New in Chess event, and Gawain has been invited to that. So
nice.
That starts on Saturday.
Yes. Chess.
Lots of chess.
Wherever you can take a look at
next Saturday.
Chess. Yeah. Next Saturday, of course. Yeah. It's a good way to.
Not this Saturday. Not tomorrow.
That would interrupt too much.
Yeah, the Saturday after.
Nice.
And it would interrupt, of course, the main event, the focus of everybody's attention at the moment, which is Arnold
Schwarzenegger versus Mike Tyson.
The candidates. We've mentioned this last week, didn't we, that we were going to catch up?
Yes.
And I have to say, I am slightly surprised at what's happened. Because Jan Nepomniachtchi is now a full point clear of the field after a fantastic display by Fabiano Caruana with some wicked home preparation.
Oh, beautiful.
Beating MBL. I'm sure you've already discussed this. I'm sure lots of colleagues here at ChessBase have analyzed it already for the site, so we won't go into it. But Jan beat Kirill Alexienko in the last round, and it was an absolute catastrophic performance by Kirill Alexienko, who basically got something horribly wrong in the opening. Already around here, it's just completely over, basically. This position is just losing for Black.
Looks scary for Black, yeah. If
you've got the pin.
So,
and if I
and this was the last move, and this is where, Rook D8 is getting into all sorts of trouble. That's what I was looking at in the live game, where the people were, Rook D8. I see, okay. Queen D8, this is considered the better move, but still Black is still bad, right?
Black is just bad in all lines, and if you want, I can tell you where more or less Black went wrong in this opening. So go from the beginning, because it's quite interesting. So we have, so you can go. So this is a kind of English Catalan. So knight at c4, knight f6, g3, e6, bishop g2, d5, knight f3. So we have a Catalan without d4, and now d takes c4. So you can play this order without white playing d4. Queen a4 check, knight bd7, queen takes c4, a6, queen c2, c5. This has all been played before, knight c3. And now here already it gets interesting, because Black plays the most natural move on the board, which is bishop e7, just preparing to castle. But apparently this is actually an inaccuracy. And the way Anish Giri dealt with the position after knight c3 was to play the move queen to c7. Apparently.
Okay.
Apparently, queen to c7 might be the better move. The point being that if you now go, for example, d4, my understanding is here is black. I think you can just play the move pawn to b6, actually. And the idea is to play a very quick bishop b7 and counter. And if you go bishop f4, which looks very natural to attack the queen, bishop f4, right? White bishop to f4. Yeah.
To bishop to f4, sorry.
Yeah.
Yes. No, I thought of the...
yeah, so knight e5. So knight e5, the point is knight e5, I think you can just go bishop b7. And
all right, okay. I get it.
There's no issue.
That's right. Yes. So
bishop f4, bishop d6, blocking. Yeah. And now if you go takes, knight e5.
And there we
go. You
go.
can just go rook a7.
Oh, rook a7. Interesting.
Yeah. And the point is you put the rook on c7. And apparently this is just not anything, because if black castles next, you just lose all of the initiative. So incredibly, in this position after knight c3, the move bishop e7 apparently is a slight inaccuracy, because as per the game, after castles, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, now queen c7, and rook d1, we have a position where, again, it's one of those where not an amateur, but a club player would look at this and think, black's fine, he's castled, his position's solid. But actually, the point is that you can't complete mobilization easily on the queen side because of this Catalan bishop on g2. So you can't actually get this bishop out from c8. And after rook d8, just a very simple move, bishop e3 by Jan. Just connecting the rooks, getting ready to play rook ac1, and asking black, how do you intend to connect your rooks and develop your pieces? And then there are all kinds of interesting tactics with the rook on c1, because the queen on c7 is very uncomfortable facing this rook on c1. Yeah. And yeah, it went knight b6, rook c1. And already here, e5 is kind of just a huge concession, giving up this f5 square. But Alexienko just didn't know what to do. I mean, he just felt like he was already short of moves, basically.
Yes.
And it's incredible that after knight f5, bishop f5, queen f5, if you stop at this position here, again, it looks as though, well, white should be a little bit better, but, black, he's connected the rooks, he's not material down. No, the position is objectively losing. It's actually toast here for black. You can't deal with the two bishops. You can't deal with the weakness, potential attack against your king side when the bishop gets to the b1, h7 diagonal. And it's incredible. I think the machine gives it like +2.5 here for white already. It's that bad. Yeah, something like that.
Whoa.
Maybe not so.
No,
okay,
I just put it on so it will still evaluate.
I thought it was maybe a bit. Maybe it was a bit of an exaggeration. But
it's still thinking. So it could be.
It's bad. I mean, it definitely starts to creep up. Maybe it's to just +1.5. But the point is that when the computer shows +1.5 with equal material and no obvious weaknesses,
exactly,
the position's toast. So, long story short, catastrophic for Kirill, especially after a brilliant win he had against Alexander Grishchuk in the previous round.
And you predicted it a little bit. You said like, well,
I did.
Alexenko against Grishchuk? Why not? There is a big chance that he can win. You said it.
Yeah, I did.
You said it first.
I said it. I called it. And and this game, Wang Hao against Grishchuk, also super, super interesting. I've already done quite a lot of work on it. Mm-hmm. Perhaps we don't have to go into the big details. But yeah, there's a moment here, really interesting moment in the diagram below where Wang Hao sacrificed his queen for great compensation, and it then ended up in a draw. But yeah, another big moment in this game, by the way, is that Grishchuk thought for 72 minutes on one move.
There's nobody else which is in this time who is like in this area of, let's say, super grandmaster, which he's definitely one of them, who
Yeah.
would think that long for one move? Is there? He's the
No.
master of that, right?
By the way, apparently this is the world record now for elite chess. I think it was an exact, I think somebody, I read it somewhere. I think maybe it was Sutovsky who posted something that another player had spent 72 minutes and it was recorded. But an hour and 12 minutes might be the record for modern times in terms of one single move. Sasha, he's a very special guy, and he managed to hold as well.
Certainly.
So.
Yeah, that also. Yeah. So then we have now, while we are talking, and very, very shortly, the next round will start. And, well, if we say the next round will start soon, we can also probably say the end game is upon us, because it's it is going to be Caruana against, no, it's the other way around, Nepomniachtchi against Caruana.
Yeah, it's a huge game today. Nepo against Caruana. It is. It's basically. You could say it's this that if Nepo wins, it's all over, right? If Nepo beats Fabi today, you have to feel that. I always say it's all over. It's never over until it's over. There are still 4 more games, right?
Yeah.
So including today, there are 4 more games. But if Nepo beats Fabi with white, and Giri, who is a point behind, and MVL, who is a point behind, MVL is actually, it's a very big day actually for Maxim, I feel, as well, because Maxim is playing black against Alexander Grishchuk, which is a game that you feel MVL actually, even with black, has to actually go for. I feel as though this is a game he has to really keep his chances alive. If MVL wins today against Alexander Grishchuk and Fabi does not lose to Nepo, we have a really, really funny situation where Nepo, let's assume the most likely result is a draw, right?
Yes. I almost have the feeling anything else than a draw would literally blow my mind, probably.
I'm not so sure because Fabi had that fantastic win against MVL. He had a very disappointing draw against Kirill, I think, where he was basically just winning at some point. Against Ding, was it rather? Sorry, it was against Kirill, and against Ding, was he better as well? No, against Ding, I can't remember if he was better, but against Kirill, I think he was doing a lot better. So Fabi has only scored +1 since the resumption of the tournament, and he should be on +2. So Fabi's got a lot of work to do. But if Fabi wins today, and there's a decisive result in either the Giri or the MVL game, suddenly we have an amazing finale upon us. And by the way, Anish Giri, I mentioned to you, Arne, that I thought Giri was the value bet at 7-1.
I agree, absolutely. I still believe so.
And I still believe so. Now, I actually think Ding is just not there. I mean, he's out of shape. He's got no inspiration. He's out of the tournament pretty much. He's 2.5 points. He just has no chance. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I'm not even sure if mathematically he can win it. Maybe he can still win it mathematically, but he's gone. Yeah. So I wonder if that lack of motivation and the fact that Anish has still got a lot to fight for here means that Anish will do something really interesting today. The other match, Alexienko against Wang Hao, is kind of a non-match. I think that's going to get very little attention today because these guys just are at the bottom, and I don't see it being a critical match.
Yeah.
But we've got 3 super critical matches, but Jan Nepomniachtchi, let's talk about him for a short while.
Yes.
We talk about Fabi, we talk about Jan Nepomniachtchi. Jan Nepomniachtchi undoubtedly is one of the most talented individuals in the top 10. He's now number 3, by the way, on the live rating list. First time ever, he's number 3. He's edging closer to 2,800.
Yeah.
There has been no doubting his talent. Let's just put it like that. I remember I played the European Under-18 Championships years and years ago. Jan Nepomniachtchi played it, but I was 18 and he was 12 or something like this, or 14 or something like this.
Just very young at least. Yeah.
Very young, and he just crushed. And so his talent has been known for like a gazillion years. And he's always and for years and years he didn't really get the invites to the super big tournaments.
He was a little bit under the radar for a while, right?
He was under the radar, but the point was that he was just not stable. Okay, he was just not stable. That has been his biggest problem. It's not his talent, it's not his chess ability, it's his stability. It's almost a question of professionalism. Can he close out a tournament? Can he close out a game? Can he be a pragmatist? Can he avoid going on tilt? All of these questions are relevant when it comes to speaking about Jan Nepomniachtchi. And finally, he's in a position now where he's got his best shot ever at playing a world championship match. Now, if Jan were to win this tournament and face Magnus, I think Jan is the best opponent for Magnus Carlsen. I think Jan has got psychological complex when playing Magnus.
That's the thing, right? I mean,
yes.
He has a crazy good result against Magnus.
No. I mean, he does, but what I'm saying is I think he needs to, if he wins this tournament, a big part of his work will be to just make sure that he doesn't think of Magnus as this. I feel like he thinks Magnus is too much of a god somehow and he needs to get rid of that assumption and just. That said, if Jan played Magnus for the World Championship title, my goodness, that would be a fun World Championship match. That would be a fun World Championship match. Because he's very unpredictable. We don't know what openings would happen. We don't know anything. He would have the full force of the Russian Federation, of course. He would have all the resources in the world to train. And that would be his shot. Now, Jan is very capable of beating Magnus in a match. That's the point. Even though Magnus is big favorite, Jan is very capable of beating Magnus. So it would be very interesting. Of course, there's still a long way to go, and I'm really looking forward to today's games.
Yeah, me too. I cannot wait, actually. It's half an hour and it'll start. Anyway, let me just ask you one thing, which I just noticed again, because that was a picture which I was like,
this one.
Do you know what happened with his hand?
I have no idea, actually.
You don't know it either. Okay.
No, I mean, maybe
he was in a fight club the night before.
Yeah, Alexander Grishchik
had a little boxing match with Mr. Tyson and Arnold Schwarzenegger or something. Yeah.
But, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah,
no, Sasha's not a violent guy at all. I mean, he's not an aggressive, violent guy.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Anyway, so Nepomniachtchi. It is. So what I wanted to say is, doesn't he from a score? So Magnus played against all of them at one point, right? Doesn't Nepomniachtchi have a pretty good score against Magnus in total?
I think he probably does. I don't know their head-to-head off by heart. I think he probably does. But I also, as I said, I also feel as though Jan thinks or has thought too highly of Magnus. I mean, you're supposed to think too highly of Magnus. You're supposed to. But at the same time,
I know.
You can't go into a match thinking that a guy's is much better than you. And
let's quickly talk about this. I know 100% what you mean. So There was a time, I'm not sure how many people can relate to this, but I just want to quickly talk about this because I think it's a very, very fascinating, interesting theme. And now that you
Mm-hmm.
mention it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it was my very first championship in the youth in Schleswig-Holstein back then.
Mm-hmm.
And my rating was 1265, something like this. So I was in the
Okay.
top 20 of the table, but we were like 50 people. And the people from a chess club said, like, yeah, you can rock it. You can actually do it. But there were 19 people who had a higher rating
Mm-hmm.
before me and may it be just 20 points. And that was the reason I managed to get only the sixth place, because all my matches I could have actually pretty easily won. And I played against better people. But every time I played against somebody who had a higher rating than me, I was like, oof, I have no chance against them. This
Right.
was my mindset back then.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible. This
Mm-hmm.
is destroying everything. And luckily, I had the experience one time in my life that I beat very, very strong players every now and then. And of course, they're also just human. They make mistakes, and then that's your chance to strike and get an advantage about this, because there's weaker players playing against me and I lose against them, and then they turned it around the other side. So if there's somebody who's like, if you play against a grandmaster with, let's say, 2700, whoever it may be, what is your approach to playing against them?
Yeah, this is an interesting question because a lot of my students ask me the same thing, or
Hmm.
at least they suffer from the same. They look at the rating and they think, oh God, I'm playing this player, blah, blah, blah. And there's an immediate, a lot of the time, if they get offered a draw, they'll accept even when they're better and all of this. So
Yes, yeah.
the way to approach playing a much stronger player is to do the following. Number one, you realize that the pressure is on them to beat you, not you to beat them. So you need to go into that game thinking, okay, he's on paper a much better player. Let me enjoy the experience. If I lose the game, but I've given giving it my everything, no big deal. And let me make some decisions over the board that make his life difficult. Let me give him some questions. Let me really ask him some questions and see if he can solve them. Because sometimes, for example, there are moments in a game where, he has to choose something a bit risky if he wants to win. I know I've played a lot of players. For example, when I played Kramnik in the Isle of Man, he was 2,800 at the time. And Kramnik had to go for something a bit risky versus me. And I ended up getting a better position and nearly winning. So remember, be a bit clever in that sense. Try and remember that they are there they really want to beat you, especially if they're a lot higher rated than you. So they'll take additional risks. And, but you cannot go in there with this negative, oh, if I make a draw, it's a brilliant result. You need to go in there. Firstly, you want to play to win in chess, unless it's a special circumstance, like it's a team event or you're playing for a grandmaster norm or whatever it is, right? If it's just a normal one-off game, you go in there with the idea that, and remember, a lot of the guys that you're playing, this is another thing, right, that I get. A lot of my students who are like 1600, they're saying, oh, I played this 1900 guy, and I'm like, and what? Right? You're not playing Magnus Carlsen. You're playing Mr. Schmidt, who's 1900, who, yes, he might be a better player than you at the moment, but he makes mistakes just like everybody else. And it's your job to play as good as you can. You're not playing a computer, or you're not playing the greatest of all time. So just go and enjoy the game. Give him some difficult practical decisions. And also, this is the other thing, Arne, right? When you play when you play a whatever, 2400, and when somebody else plays a grandmaster, whatever, your livelihood does not depend on it. Right? Whether you win, lose, or draw that game, the fact is you're still probably going to be able to put food on the table and sleep that night. There are some people where a game can actually affect, if they're able to pay bills that month, right? For example, when I think of the professional chess grinders, on the circuit, or at least before, right? Before Corona.
Yeah.
All of these grandmasters in the low 2400s, uh, or low 2500s, 2420 grandmasters, what I call journeyman grandmasters. When I think of all these guys, all the guys in Italy and Spain who just go from tournament to tournament trying to grind out a few €100, that's a horrible life. Okay, being one of those guys trying to eke out a living playing these open tournaments. So you've got nothing to stress about when you're playing a higher rated player. It's really important to remember it's nothing to stress about. Enjoy the occasion.
Love this. Thanks. Yeah, very, very nice advice. And then out of a sudden, a whole new theme shows up by the journeyman chess players. Yeah. But we will talk about this another day, but it's also something interesting to talk about.
It is, yeah.
So let us end this news review with giving predictions for today. And let's start with from bottom and then go up to the top.
Okay.
Anish Giri against Ding Liren.
I mean, for the sake of the tournament, I'm going to say 1-0. I mean, that's the result I want to see. Not because I hate Ding. I love Ding. I think he's a really nice guy. But for the interest of the public and for the interest of the tournament, I would like to see an Anish victory today.
I would like to see this too. I will say Ding Liren will win, though.
Oh, you think Ding will win? So you think you think Anish will blow up today, and that's going to be it?
It will be a super surprise. Ding Liren has nothing to lose.
Interesting. That's interesting. No, that's very interesting.
This is an idea I have. Also, I just want to. I think Anish will also win, but I want Ding. I like Anish. I have more relation or like how do you call it? Like Anish. It would be one of my favorite players to face Magnus Carlsen. No doubt about that.
Oh, absolutely.
I really like this chap so much, although I don't know him personally. We just met once in the little Blitz tournament, but now I'm just for the sake of it, so we have different opinions. I will say Ding Liren will win it, and I think why not? I mean, look, Anish almost has to win, right? And he is going to try to win, and maybe he will. It's very difficult still, although Ding Liren is not in the best shape. Nobody doubts that. It's very, very difficult to win against him. And maybe this will be the turning point for him to get a little bit back into the groove and out of a surprise, win the game.
Interesting.
Okay, then let me start with Alexander Grishuk and Maxime Vachier-Lagrave. Yeah, also... that's going to be... I hope it's going to be... the most entertaining match of the day. I mean, Grishuk's matches have been very nice. Maxime is always also having very interesting positions on the board. This can go in any direction, but then I think Maxime will have the advantage, but Grishuk will take 75 minutes to work on a good defensive move, and then it's going to end in a draw.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a draw is a favorite in all of these matches, as always. But again, for the sake of the tournament, I would really like to see MBL win, because he had a really rough first round against Fabi. He fought amazingly against Ding. He was completely toast against Ding. And managed to hold. So like he's had a pretty like unlucky, I would say, start, because he's just run into some really good prep. So it would be good for him to get a little bit lucky today and keep the French dream alive. So that's good. What I want to see.
Sounds fair to me. Okay, what do you think about Alexenko against Wang Hao? Let's say, it's so evil to say something like that, but probably the most boring or...
It's not the most boring. It's just that it's just the least relevant. It's just the least relevant match. It's the least critical match for the tournament.
Yes, you said the right words for that. So, yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, you know what? Let's go for a Wang Hao victory. I mean, Wang Hao, he hasn't had much luck. Kirill, I mean, I actually really like Kirill. I as long as it's a decisive result, I'm for both of these guys. I mean, if one of them wins, the dream is still alive. I mean, if Wang Hao wins, the dream is not really. He's 2 points behind. I mean, he's not really. I mean, whatever. Just a decisive result is good.
I agree, and I think Alexenko can take the full point here against Wang Hao. It's going to be pretty boring or very, very ugly chess game for a longer time, and everything looks like a draw. And then, out of a sudden, Alexenko takes out an amazing sacrifice, and Wang Hao is completely surprised, was already thinking of going home, thinking about the next matches, about life, and then, what the heck is happening here? And that will catch him too heavily, and then he will lose the game. As for Nepomniachtchi and Fabiano Caruana, as I said already before, I'm almost 95% sure it's going to be a draw. I hope not. I hope Fabiano wins.
Yeah, I mean, I also hope Fabi wins. I mean, if Jan wins, I think if Jan wins, it's really that's it.
Might be it, right?
Yeah, I think if Jan wins, it's over. I think if Fabi wins, it's just wide open.
Yeah.
And the good news for Fabi is that even though Jan can, of course, play super solid and so on, Fabi will try and find a way. I will be really interested today if Fabi actually goes full out for it, or if he thinks there is a better spot to take.
Yeah, yes.
But the point is that this is a 2-point game, effectively.
Exactly. It's a 2-point game.
Yeah.
So whoever overpowers might suffer. I'm not sure. Oh, it's so interesting. I'm looking forward. It's only 15 minutes and it will start. Anyway,
exactly.
That's how it is. Let's get back to our two nice, beautiful faces. Yeah, and next week we will know more. Actually, we will know who will face Magnus Carlsen. Probably, unless something unexpected happens. I mean, I was expecting we would know by last year already who would face Magnus Carlsen. But then everything turned into a different direction. Now, yeah, and then we will probably talk about this tournament a little bit more. Have a little analysis of what happened there, why it happened, and I'm also very curious how our predictions from today stand strong in the next week.
We'll have to email. We'll have to message anyway later when we know the results.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it'll be absolutely fantastic, won't it? To actually, to see next week. We'll be able to discuss we'll know who Magnus is playing in the World Championships, and we can discuss the World Championship match and everything else. It's going to be really, really fun. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's good times for chess.
Yeah.
Weird and interesting times for everything else.
Really is, yeah.
That is it, Lawrence. Was so much fun.
Yep, as always. Thanks very much, Arne.
Absolutely.
Brilliant stuff.
So get Lawrence DVDs and stuff. My gosh, come on.
Buy them all and multiple times. That's my recommendation.
Exactly, mine too. See you guys next week.
See you guys. Cheers.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.